Virendra Singh, who lived in Najafgarh, worked as a cargo agent with a private company at Delhi IGI airport. He and some of his friends used to commute there by DTC bus. But one day, a few of his friends said, "Man, so much of our time gets wasted, first in the bus, and then just sitting around at the office. Our fitness has also gone for a toss, and we're spending 30 to 40 rupees every day, just wasted on bus fare. We need to find a solution." So this incident happened back in 2005. At that time, for a middle-class employee, spending 30 to 40 rupees on bus fare every day was a painful expense. And to get rid of this pain, they came up with a plan. But in the process of saving that 40 rupees, they took such a risk, the story of which will shake you from top to bottom today. This story was sent to me by Manish Bhai, who is Virendra Ji's son, and right now, this is from the email he sent. You can see the screenshot in the video. So, this is about 2005. Virendra Ji lived with his family in Najafgarh and used to travel from there to his office at IGI in Delhi. 4 friends would also go to the office with him. When Virendra Ji boarded the DTC bus from inside Najafgarh, his other friends would join in about 4 kilometers later. After finishing work, by the time they returned home, it would be 11 or 12 at night, and sometimes even 1 a.m. This was just how their days passed. This had become a part of their daily routine. Then, while sitting at the office, his friend started a discussion. "Man, we spend so much time in the bus. By the time we reach home, it's midnight. We don't get any time for ourselves. Our fitness has become terrible too. So why don't we buy bicycles? We'll go to the office by cycle every day and come home from office the same way. This will keep us fit as well, and with this excuse, we can also tell the office people that we go home by cycle, and so maybe they'll let us leave early." After figuring out the whole plan, everyone bought a cycle for themselves. Virendra Ji also bought an Atlas cycle. Now, I don't know if people today know about it, but at that time, an Atlas cycle was big and sturdy, right? It used to be a long one. So he bought that Atlas cycle to go from home to office. Now, before we move further in the story, you need to understand a bit about the route Virendra Ji used to commute daily. So after leaving his IGI office, the first thing he encountered was a railway crossing called Bijwasan. Then after that came a CRPF camp. After crossing that CRPF camp, there was the Dinpur area, and then finally came Najafgarh. So Virendra Ji would cross this entire stretch every day to return home. While commuting by cycle, he had to, It had only been about 10 to 12 days, but this cycle method didn't work for long for these people. Now, exactly what happened, I'll tell you further in the video, but for now, just understand that Virendra Ji couldn't commute by cycle for more than 15 days. He had to give it up. When he stopped commuting by cycle, his family thought, every day, Tuppa has to go 25 kilometers there and 25 kilometers back, so he must be getting really tired. Maybe that's why he dropped the idea of cycling. But the story was brewing into something else, brother. Since he didn't tell much openly, his family didn't ask much either. That's fine. A month passed by. After a month, it was Manish's maternal aunt's son's wedding. Now, there is a custom in Haryana that when there's a wedding at the aunt's house, the aunt comes to stay at her brother's house for a few days before the wedding. And she brings jaggery squares with her. She brings jaggery squares. This is a long-standing tradition. What happened here was that Manish's aunt didn't come to their Najafgarh house with the jaggery, but instead went to their home in the village and called Manish's father and uncle there as well. So the whole family gathered at the village. After all the rituals were done for the day, in the evening, everyone sat together in a room. All the brothers, sisters, aunt, father, uncle, everyone was sitting there, right? The men had had a little to drink. And then Manish's uncle says to Manish's father, "I heard you were commuting to and from the office by cycle. So why did you stop using the cycle?" Manish's father said, "No, my health wasn't too good, that's why I had to drop the cycle plan." Uncle says, "Why are you joking? We know you well enough. Your fitness isn't that bad. Everything's normal. Tell us the real story." All the family members sitting there at that time were now looking at Virendra Ji. They started insisting, "Tell us what really happened." Still under the influence, Mr. Virendra began to share his story. "And brother, As soon as all those men who had been drinking heard it, their intoxication vanished within a minute. Listen carefully now. Mr. Virendra explains that for the first 2 weeks, everything went smoothly. People used to come and go on bicycles without any trouble. But then, one day, he had to stay late at the office for some work. Out of the 4 people who used to come with him, 3 had already left. Only one friend stayed back with him. Their plan was to finish work and then head home together. After all, it's not safe to go alone. All the work wrapped up around 1:45 at night. After wrapping up their work, they set out from the IGI office towards Najafgarh. It was December and extremely cold at that time. After riding their bicycles for about 15 kilometers from IGI terminal, they stopped a bit before Bijwasan railway crossing to rest. They needed to take a turn 200 meters from where they had stopped. Mr. Virendra and his friend were standing there chatting, and just then, Mr. Virendra's gaze went to the corner where they would be making the turn. Brother, he saw a pitch-black man standing there. The man's eyes had a faint glow, which is why he was clearly visible. He told his friend, "Brother, look, someone is standing over there." But the strange thing was that only Mr. Virendra could see that man. His friend went ahead to check, but there was no one. He said, "There's no one here." Hearing this, Mr. Virendra himself looked at the corner, but again, there wasn't anyone. They thought maybe some thief was standing there. The 2 of them, being extra cautious, walked closer to that corner, side by side. Mr. Virendra saw the man again and noticed that the pupils of his eyes were rolled back. He told his friend, "Brother, look again, he's standing there right in front." Now, Mr. Virendra's friend used to carry a stick in his bicycle. He parked his cycle there and took the stick, heading straight to the corner to check the area thoroughly. "Is anyone really here?" He told Mr. Virendra, "Keep an eye on the bicycles. I'll go check." Mr. Virendra was left standing all alone on the road. His friend proceeded a little ahead to check past the turn. Virendra waited for his friend to return, and suddenly, someone placed a hand on Virendra's shoulder. Instinctively, he turned his head, and there, right behind him, was the same man standing. Brother, in a panic, he threw down his bicycle on the road and ran, shouting to his friend, "He is standing behind me." He started screaming loudly in sheer terror. His friend quickly ran back, and when they looked at the bicycles, they saw there was no one around, just both bikes lying on the road. His friend said, "Let's do one thing. Instead of taking this side of the road, let's walk on the other side." So both of them changed lanes and slowly began making their way back home. Virendra's friend kept repeating till the very end that it must have just been some thief. Don't take so much stress. But Virendra knew clearly that it wasn't a human at all. He returned home, determined that he wouldn't go to the office by bicycle again. But then the thought haunted him. After all, his friends would keep going by bicycle. If he refused, everyone would call him a coward, scared. Because of this peer pressure, he continued commuting by bicycle. But this second round of cycling to and from the office didn't last very long. In January, a new joiner arrived at Virendra's office. He had married 3 years before and had 2 small children. This new joiner's house was near where Virendra's other friends lived, about 4 kilometers before Virendra's own place. He used to commute daily by motorcycle, from home to office and back. This new joiner had only been at the office for 7 days. One night, after finishing work, he left the office for home around 1:45. He set out for home. It was a freezing night in Delhi, blanketed by thick fog. Back then, pollution wasn't as severe, so the mist was real and dense. Because visibility was poor, he moved his bike forward with caution. When he reached near Bijwasan railway crossing, he saw a woman and a man standing by the side. The woman was wearing a sari, and the man was dressed in a white kurta pajama. The new joiner thought they must have just gotten off the train and were waiting for a ride home. As he got closer to them, they signaled for a lift. Initially, He had firmly decided that he wouldn't stop his motorcycle. But as he reached them, something changed inside him, and he stopped his bike there. The man got on first, then the woman climbed up behind him. He started riding slowly in the direction of Najafgarh. Before they sat, he had asked where they wanted to go. They replied, just a little ahead. So, with both seated behind him, he kept going into the thick fog. After about 2 kilometers, he asked again where they wanted to get off, but received no response. He also noticed that neither of them was talking to each other. Maybe, he thought, it was just the biting cold that made them so silent. The bike kept moving, and soon they crossed the Najafgarh Canal. Beyond the canal was a small town, but they didn't get off there either. The new joiner thought, maybe they want to go to Najafgarh itself, but I don't want to ride all the way there just to drop them. My own house is 4 kilometers before Najafgarh. Irritated, he asked yet again, but the man just said yes, just a bit further ahead. At this point, the CRPF camp was 3 kilometers away, and then the woman finally spoke. Stop the motorcycle here. I'll get down here. But there wasn't any colony or settlement nearby, and the nearest town was a kilometer away. Although there was a street light, so the area was quite well lit. He didn't ask many questions, just stopped his motorcycle. When the lady got off, he asked, "There's no colony nearby. Where will you go at this hour?" She didn't reply and silently started walking ahead. He thought, all right, maybe I'm overthinking it, and started his motorcycle again. Suddenly, he caught a glimpse in his rearview mirror. He saw the woman's feet were reversed. It was so odd that he looked again, thinking maybe he was mistaken. But in reality, her feet were reversed. Still, he chose to ignore it, thinking that the man was still sitting behind him. If anything was truly wrong, surely the man would have said something. He tried to push aside his fear and moved on. They crossed the CRPF camp, about 300 meters after passing the camp. The man behind suddenly said, "Please stop the motorcycle, I'll get down here." The new joiner thought maybe the man had a relative at the CRPF camp, since there was a path going down from there. When the man got off the motorcycle, he began walking down that path. But the new joiner couldn't get the image of the woman's feet out of his head. He just couldn't forget what he'd seen. He kept thinking, that man had been with her at the railway crossing, and rode with her behind me. He must have noticed something. He called out to the man in the kurta pajama. "Excuse me, listen for a moment." The man, quietly making his way down, stopped and walked back to him. The new joiner asked, "Did you notice anything strange about the woman?" The man said, "No, nothing seemed strange. Why?" So he asked, "You didn't feel anything odd at all?" Then the man said, "What do you want to say? Speak clearly." The new joiner then blurted out, "Did you notice that woman's feet were reversed?" Hearing this, the man looked at him for a couple of seconds, stepped back twice, and said, "So what, my feet are also reversed?" Hearing this answer, the biker's heartbeat almost stopped. He fainted then and there. He remained unconscious the whole night. Next morning, villagers found him and took him to the hospital. For 3 or 4 days at the hospital, he kept muttering that the woman had her feet turned the other way. He told his colleagues who had gone to see her the whole story. Finally, after 4 days, that new joiner died of a heart attack. If only he hadn't forgotten the man and asked about the woman. Now, this news spread through the office like wildfire, and from that day, Mr. Virendra permanently stopped commuting by bicycle. He went back to his old routine, taking the bus to the office and coming back home by bus. After reading this whole story, I asked Manish Bhai, "Brother, whose spirit was it? What's the backstory?" He said that in the Bijwasan railway crossing area, many people have committed suicide before. And in the same Najafgarh drainage, which is a canal, people used to throw murdered bodies there. The whole canal flows with very dirty, pitch-black water, and around it is a jungle area where bodies are hidden. Maybe it was the spirit of one of those people that Mr. Virendra and his colleague, the new joiner, encountered. If Mr. Virendra hadn't had his friends with him that night, things could have turned out much worse. So if anything like this has happened with someone you know, you can send me your story at the email address below. See you in the next video. Till then, take care and Har Har Mahadev.